I'm Myriam.
And I'm Elyse. Two friends bound by the love of books.
Taking on the world one chapter at a time. This is the Book Bound Besties podcast. Hey, Book Bound Besties! Welcome to episode 3 of season 3 of the Book Bound Besties podcast, where we dive deep into your favorite books, have unhinged chats, and Elyse theorizes about what's to come because she has not read the whole book yet. Today we're talking about From Blood and Ash, chapters 9 through 12. If you want more Book Bound Besties content, be sure to follow along on TikTok and Instagram, where we post funny clips from our episodes, silly videos, and our unhinged book reviews. Also, a reminder we've been pushing for the last few episodes, please rate and review this podcast, especially on Apple Podcasts, because it really helps push through Book Bound Besties to the algorithm so that we can get as many besties part of this community as possible.
Absolutely.
And as always, to close out our housekeeping, this episode will contain content that is not suitable for little ears. So do with that what you will. Elyse and I took a little week break from recording, so we have a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, what you been up to?
I have been doing sweet nothing. Last week I took actually off from work. We went to Justin's parents' cottage. I just sat by the water on the lake, read a ton. It was great. I finished Daughter of No Worlds.
Right.
Which was so good. It's written by Carissa Broadbent, and she's also written Serpents in the Wings of Night, which I've heard is what a lot of people read to get over their ACOTAR hangover.
Okay. I've just seen a lot of talk about it online.
So I gave this a shot. I think she wrote this series before Serpents in the Wings of Night. Don't
quote you on that.
Don't quote me on this. Yeah, we'll have to fact check that at some point. But regardless, it's a really, really good story. Super interesting magic system. I love the female main character. She is absolutely incredible. And her resilience and her ability to set aside things in order to achieve this big picture goal, I think is so admirable. And the male main character is awesome. He is a new book boyfriend. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying this series. I started the second one. And I also have been watching a ton of Below Deck.
Oh, right.
It is my guilty pleasure show, and I just love it. We're watching Below Deck Mediterranean, and we're just making our way through all the seasons.
How many seasons are there?
9.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of content.
It is, but you know what? In the summers, Justin and I just love to watch something brainless.
Yeah.
And the drama, he's so funny because he always pretends that he's not into it.
Yeah.
And then he reaches the point where he just stops pretending.
Yeah.
And he's just what's Captain Sandy up to now?
I mean, yeah, I enjoy brainless trash television sometimes. Yeah. It feels good.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. And you know what? Those yachties work friggin' hard.
I'm sure. So I couldn't do it. Hats off to them.
Yeah, I don't think I have. Have you seen those reels of the guy nudging his girlfriend or his wife because he's reminding my girlfriend or whatever wife that her face has subtitles?
No.
It's so basically if you're a person who cannot hide their emotions on their face, this is not the job for you, because people come up with these ridiculous requests and they're demanding and this and that. You just have to keep a nice smile on your face. And
for sure. It's hard. I've been asked to do really ridiculous things on set, as a prop person, because props basically is literally anything in the world. A prop could be literally anything in the world. It could even be clothing sometimes. So once it was raining and we had to shoot outside, and in the scene it wasn't supposed to be raining, but it was just a light drizzle. So the director's we'll just record anyway. But the shot was on a car. And he was well, it's not supposed to be raining, so can you wipe the raindrops off the car? And I was okay, but it's raining.
So you're going to be perpetually drying the car?
Yeah, and he was yeah, I know. Oh. So I literally, me and my assistant were with towels, just busting our ass, trying to keep this car dry-ish so that we could film a scene that wasn't supposed to be raining in the rain.
Love it.
Yep. Yep, try to keep your face straight on that one.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh.
I was
At least you got a good workout in.
Yeah, sure.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah.
In other good news, Justin and I, 14 months later, got our wedding video, which we are absolutely thrilled about. Yeah. Because it was touch and go for a while. We hadn't heard from the guy.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it was a little bit brutal, but we're really happy with it. It was really nice to relive that day, and it's a nice keepsake. And listen, it costs a lot of money to have a photographer and videographer at your wedding. But what I tell all of my friends who are getting married is that is the money. Yeah, I don't regret spending.
Yeah, I love our wedding photos.
That's kind of it for me. How about you?
We last spoke about reading like literally a few days ago.
Yeah.
So I haven't read much since that.
Okay, that's not a big deal.
But no, I had a busy weekend. I was invited to the Fantasia Film Festival, which is a horror film festival here in Montreal. And I was super excited because I was supposed to meet Jamie Campbell Bower, but he canceled.
No! I was looking for him in all of your content.
I know! Yeah, he canceled. I'm assuming...
What was his excuse?
I didn't hear, but I'm assuming he's filming Stranger Things right now. So, like, can we blame him? Like,
yeah, we can. He made a commitment.
Anyway, yeah. So I was really disappointed, but I did get to see the rest of the cast and crew. And the movie was a lot of fun. The movie is called Witchboard. If you like horror, it's not like a movie I'm going to watch 5,000 times, but I enjoyed watching it. There was some good laughs in it. It was a fun horror movie.
Can't relate. Can't relate at all.
It was so funny because I've never been to Fantasia, but I guess at a film festival, the audience is, or at this one anyway, the audience is just super reactive. So when there were crazy kills on screen, the audience started like cheering and like laughing. And I was like, Mimi would not be into this at all.
Mimi would run away. Mimi would never take her seat. She would take the snacks and go. I'd be like, thank you very much for the invite. Ciao, bye.
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was good. And Jamie Campbell Bower was amazing in it. So I was really sad he wasn't there, but whatever. And then, yeah, the rest of the weekend I saw family. We did a family pottery class on Saturday.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it was super fun. It was like hand building. So it was like not spinning.
Oh, okay.
So you're just like playing with Play-Doh. Yeah. So we made some like
Which family, yours or Scott's?
Scott's. So my nephews were there and my nephews were super into it too.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so
they get messy.
Yeah, so we did that, and then we had dinner, and then...
That's so creative.
Yeah, it was fun.
Whose idea was that?
Kat, who's my sister-in-law.
Who's also like a early childhood educator.
Yeah.
So leave it to her to come up with like really fun, creative ideas. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And where'd you guys go for dinner?
We just went back to their house.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. Neil went to Alaska and fished some fresh fish, so we got to have Alaskan fresh caught fish.
Yum.
Yeah.
Also... Elise's in-laws are foodies, like real foodies.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky. Anytime we come here, we eat very well because Scott is an amazing cook.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's the same with your in-laws.
Oh my God, yeah. We always have incredible food and stuff. And then on Sunday, we actually threw a pizza party here, which you couldn't come to. But
so sad. Especially because, like I just said, Scott makes very good food. So I was very keen to eat Scott's pizza. But unfortunately, my mom is in town from Egypt. My mom lives in Egypt. And we needed to have a family get-together. Yeah. So that took precedent.
Yeah, I think that's a good excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, we had a couple of friends over with their kids and had pizza and zucchini carpaccio fresh from the garden. Yum. And yeah.
Oh.
And yeah.
I'm good jealous.
Time. And Stevie was, I have to say, incredible with the kids. She's always seen my nephews, but there was, I guess, there was 4 kids, and they were screaming and running around, and she was just like calm with them and letting them run around and jump in her bed and stuff, and she was just like cool with it, which made me really happy. I think everyone had fun.
Amazing. Shall we get into our episode?
Wait.
Oh.
I have to fix mistakes that were made.
Oh, so, we must adjust the record?
We must adjust the record. So first of all, at the end of last episode, we forgot to say the tally for the dimples and the questions and all of that. But over the last week, because we took off, I actually took the time to go back and recount everything because I was unsure of my counting abilities, to be honest. And we did miss some questions and a dimple.
I can't believe we missed a dimple because I've been using my e-reader, and so I've been searching the word dimple.
I figured that's what you were doing, but somehow we missed it.
Oh, well.
For those of you watching on YouTube, I've been tabbing every question and every dimple so you could physically count everything.
I love how you pick tabs that are within the color scheme of the book.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, I had them, so I was like, why not? I've also been tabbing the world building. That's why there's so many tabs.
Oh, I love
so all
that.
the
That's a
stuff
good
we're
idea.
keeping track of. But yeah, the grayish colors, white-ish, gray-white is the questions. That's why there's 5,000 of them.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, you know what? That's really clever because if we decide to pursue this series and the companion series, it's going to be really useful to have ties to From Blood and Ash with Flesh and Fire.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even tell you.
Oh, it's true.
I got the arc.
Yes.
For Born from Blood and Ash.
Yes.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, the final book of the series.
I was so excited. So I have a US address that we get things shipped to. So I get a video from my brother who lives at my dad's, and he puts this like intense music and he shows me the package and he's making fun of me because he thinks it's something I ordered, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my goodness. 1001 Blue Box Press sent me the physical arc of the last Flesh and Fire book. I knew that they were going to send me an arc, but I thought it was going to be the E arc.
Yeah.
I am thrilled and I am so excited to sink my teeth into it. I was actually at dinner with a girlfriend who is equally into this series and Flesh and Fire, and she was green with envy. She's like, it's okay, you work really hard for this. Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited. But all this to say, it'll be really useful if we do choose to cover the Flesh and Fire series to have these tabs. So you're doing the Lord's work.
All the world building, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so last week's tally should have read 6 dimples and 61 questions.
Okay. What did we do wrong? I think we were at 50. Like we missed 11 questions.
No, were we at 50?
I don't remember.
Anyway.
We didn't do a count, so who knows?
We didn't do a count, exactly. So, yeah, that's where we were at. And we will actually remember to say it this time. Okay, are we finally ready to jump in?
We are. So this week for world building, we actually don't have that much to talk about except for some gods that were described when Poppy's in the Great Hall and she's looking at the hand-painted ceiling of the Great Hall that depicts a bunch of gods. So we have Ione, Rahar, Eos.
Yeah, I would say Eos. But who knows?
Do I have the audiobook? Yes. Did I listen to that chapter? No. Anyway, Eos is a red-headed goddess of love, fertility, and beauty. Then there's Sion, who is a dark-skinned god of the sky and soil. He was earth, wind, and water. Theon, the god of accord and war. His twin Layla, the goddess of peace and vengeance. Bel, the dark-haired goddess of the hunt, who is depicted with a bow. Paris, who is pale and white-haired, and he is the god of the right and prosperity. Rain, who is the god of common men and endings. Penelope, who Poppy is named after, who is the goddess of wisdom, loyalty, and duty. And then Nyktos, who is the king of all gods. And the most important thing about him is that his face is never shown, so nobody knows what he looks like.
Okay.
Or even tries to imagine what he looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
So if he's depicted, he's just a blob?
Like a blob with hair. Yeah. Like hair and a body, but like his face itself is never depicted.
Yeah, exactly. Like blob face.
I don't know if saying this is spoilery or not. You can decide. But what I will say is in Flesh and Fire, we do meet the gods.
Yes, we knew that.
And the gods that are named here are not the gods from Flesh and Fire.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if that's because something got lost in translation in all of the years between the two series, or if something happens in the last Flesh and Fire book that changes who the gods are.
Huh.
Or I don't really know what other possible explanation there is, but some of these gods we do meet. Some of these gods are indeed the gods that Poppy claims them to be.
Right.
But some of them are not. For example, Like, if you were to look at the god of blah, blah, blah.
Right.
The name and that title do not match.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
I'm going to end it there before I spoil anything.
Okay.
But that's really it for world building.
Yeah.
We got a lot more character development, a lot more quiet moments and, like, moments of friendship and...
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this is the calm before the storm.
I was about to say, I didn't feel like the craziest set of chapters.
Yeah. But next week is going to get crazy, and then it's just going to be a sprint for the rest of the book, basically.
Okay.
Shall we have a synopsis?
Yeah. Chapter 9. Vikter and Poppy train as Poppy asks about who will replace Rylan. It's obvious she's interested in Hawke, despite her denying the claims. We're then found in court, where a family pleads for a change of rule. But it's clear the Duke and Duchess will not bend the rules for just anyone.
So like you said in your synopsis, the chapter opens with Poppy in a training session, and I love how we're actually getting to be a part of her training. So we're not just being told that she's well-trained or the fact that she has these training sessions. We're actually
seeing it,
being brought along. The scene actually opens once the training session is complete, and we get this beautiful little bantery moment between Poppy and Vikter about, you know, how skilled they are and who won the spar. And I just thought it was a really nice moment of levity between them. And then Vikter checks in on Poppy's head and her injuries, and in typical daughter fashion, she refuses to admit that the fact that he encouraged her to rest the day before probably did her some good. And she actually spent the day reading a romance novel. Fictional heroines, they're just like us.
Yeah, she even says the topic, I guess, is two lovers, star-crossed yet fated. And I was like, is that telling us something to come?
Perhaps. Anyway, she changes the subject to Rylan's replacement, and her mind immediately goes to Hawke. She pretends that she doesn't know his name when she asks Vikter about it. And again, the dynamic she has with Vikter is so great because he calls her out on lying. And he's like, you can't fool me. Like,
Oh, he knows everything.
Yeah.
It's like scary how much he knows everything, actually.
When I was growing up, my mom and my grandmother always would be like, oh, we know you're lying because it's written on your forehead. I feel like it's that kind of thing. Like a parent they just know.
For sure.
And
even if you think you're fooling a parent, you're probably not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And at this point, you know, her safety and her whereabouts and her movements, that's his job. Like he needs to protect her from any and all threats. And that includes the threats that she poses to herself because of her reckless nature. So I think we shouldn't be surprised by knowing that he has a finger on the pulse of,
oh, for sure,
you know, who she has an eye on and stuff like that. So anyway, they discuss the possibility, and essentially, despite Hawke's age, he's very well regarded and is close to the commander. And on top of that, the fact that he's not from the city, Vikter sees as an advantage because it means that he's got a fresh set of eyes and he can suss out weaknesses where someone who is used to the little idiosyncrasies of a certain place will just overlook. Poppy's main concern about Hawke being her guard is that she, and this kind of is the thread that is weaved through the next 4 chapters, she's like, okay, well, if Hawke is this young, this good at his job, and this ambitious, odds are he's going to tell on me because he's got incentive to, because it's going to grant him favor with the Duke and Duchess, with the commander, blah, blah, blah. So her whole concern is not that, like, her and Hawke are going to be in close proximity,
yeah,
you know, and then whatever that would mean because of the fact that they made out and, I don't know, he groped her. No, I feel like saying he groped her is like negative.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. He like
unwanted.
felt her up. Yeah. So it's not because of that. It's really because she's afraid that she's going to be sold out.
Yeah, but don't you think there's a little bit of an underlying nervousness around him just being around all the time too?
I think so, but I think that the overarching fear is the fear of being told on. Yeah. So we have that like little scene. Very nice. We tied a bow on it. And now the scene changes and we're in the Great Hall, which I cannot help but picture as the Great Hall from the Harry Potter movies, except instead of having a magically charmed ceiling that reflects the weather outside, they have this beautiful fresco of all the gods that we described earlier.
Yeah. Before we get to that, there's just one part in the last scene where she explicitly says that she hasn't had a night terror since
meeting him,
making out with Hawke. I mean, I don't know if she says making out with Hawke, but I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. Her mind is otherwise occupied.
I mean, pretty magical lips.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I mean, it's just weird. Like, why did she stop having nightmares after making out with him?
I genuinely think it's because her mind is occupied.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, no, seriously. I'm not
No, I know.
I'm not trying to like steer you from a theory. Okay. Genuinely.
Okay. Well, that's boring, but okay.
At least thinking Hawke has magical lips.
Maybe. I don't know.
No.
I don't think he's normal.
Hate to burst your bubble.
I don't think he's normal. That would be boring.
Who knows? So Poppy's in the Great Hall, and she's really anxious to be around all these people, and she's just feeling anxious, and she can't really put her finger on why. She goes, like, after her headache disappeared and, you know, the symptoms from her injuries disappeared, they became replaced by this, like, random nervous energy. And Vikter calls her out for it, quote, fidgeting like you have spiders in your gown since the beginning of this, to which she thinks that if that were true, she'd be screaming and stripping down. And I relate. I absolutely despise spiders. Like, the thought of them crawling on me just makes me want to strip and scream.
Yeah. We actually had a spider come down one episode while we were recording. Anyway,
don't even remind me. I'm going to barf.
That footage exists somewhere.
Yeah. It must have been an episode you edited because I don't remember seeing it again.
It was.
That's so funny.
It was.
The other thing that Poppy kind of thinks to herself and lets us in on is the fact that she has not returned to the gardens since Ryland's death. Mm-hmm. And we know that the gardens was part of her daily routine. It was a moment in her day that brought her great joy. She enjoyed being kind of in the fresh air and seeing the flowers and all of this. So you can think that maybe this nervous energy is as a result of part of her routine disappearing. Mm-hmm. But also I think a large part of it is this great unknown of who's going to replace Ryland. She turns her attention to those in the Great Hall. And this scene reminds me of the scene from Princess Diaries to a Royal Engagement. You know, when like they come and they like tell their problems, then they go, here's a melon for your table.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, she notes how everyone is staring at her, but doesn't seem to mind it so much when her gaze locks with Hawke's.
Mm-hmm. Her gaze that's covered.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That happens again later.
Yeah, it happens quite a few times. Then we get introduced to Mr. and Mrs. Tulis. And we need to park these people, okay? Because they're going to be really important down the line.
Oh.
They're a couple dressed in plain clothing holding a little bundle, and they're there to present their son. The tough thing is, he is their third son. So I don't quite remember what happens to first sons and daughters, but we know that second sons and daughters are presented in the Rite. They become lords and ladies in waiting.
My understanding is that the first ones stay at home.
Oh, that makes sense. That would make sense.
The first one is for the family, and then the second one and thirds get offered up.
Yeah, so the second sons and daughters become lords and ladies in waiting. They ascend, and then the third sons and daughters get offered to the gods. And I'm assuming that if they have like fourth, fifth, sixth, etc., they get to keep those kids.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's so special about second and thirds, but anyway. The sad thing about this couple, though, is that despite this being their third son, he's actually their only surviving son. Mm-hmm. And despite that, they are still expected to give this child up to the gods or give this child to the priests to be serving the gods. Mm-hmm. And naturally, they don't want to give up their only child.
For sure.
And so they're asking the Duke and Duchess to make an exception to petition the gods, please, 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 let us keep our child. Unfortunately, the Duke refuses. And even though this couple has been told that if the wife were to get pregnant again, she will die. Like, they literally have no choice. They cannot make any more babies. Mm-hmm. This is their one and only child. And they are forced, because of this arbitrary rule of first, second, third sons and daughters, that this child will have to go to the high priests 1 month after it's born. The crowd is aghast over this. Like, at first, they're kind of, like, shocked over the gall of the Tulis family to be asking for this.
Yeah.
But then when they hear the Duke and Duchess's reaction and, like, their absolute refusal to even petition the gods, you know, on behalf of this couple, then they start to almost turn.
Yeah, I mean, the audience is very, the court is very divided. Like, Poppy's kind of noting everyone's reaction, and there's a very clear divide. People are not super like, oh yeah, of course, the gods, and like, yes, this is the way. Like, there is a little bit of unrest in the room, and it's like, wait a minute. Everyone's supposed to be devoted to the gods. Everyone's supposed to be devoted to the way, and clearly they're questioning it.
Yeah, exactly. My heart shattered into a million pieces when the father drops to his knees and starts begging the Duke. And apparently this moment was too much for Poppy as well, because she loses control over her power and starts to feel the man's grief. She calms herself down and attempts to rein it in, but then her powers pick up on this like blonde man hiding in the back. And notices that his emotions are so strong that they're actually burning through the wall that she's built up in her mind to kind of protect herself from her powers. This scene was just so difficult. I mean, it was hard for me to read the first time, but it was even harder for me to read the second time, where I had to kind of like take notes and really, I don't know, like be prepared to talk about it. I just found it was so devastating. I cannot imagine the grief of these parents who have already lost 2 children and now have to like, quote unquote, voluntarily give up a third. Anyway, this whole scene was sickening. I don't really want to talk about it any further. And that was the end of the chapter, basically.
Why do you think that blonde man was so special? Like, who is he?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just think that Poppy is opening up her mind to the possibility, and this scene kind of solidifies it for her, that those that do not necessarily support the Duke and Duchess are not simply dissenters.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's the purpose of that man's presence.
The scene definitely, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're not in a world that's black and white anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I think that man is meant to represent. And, you know, his intense emotion really sticks with her because she mentions it again in the following chapter. But the other thing that I think is important to note is that Poppy all this time has been sensing pain. But what she senses from this man is a little bit different. So potentially her powers are
growing or changing, yeah.
Exactly.
Which we find more evidence of that soon.
Exactly. Yeah.
So dimple count?
None. Yeah.
Question count?
16?
18.
Oh. Okay. Awards.
What is your most romantic line?
It's so sad, but he takes after my wife, cute as a button, if I dare say so myself, your grace.
Oh, about the baby.
I just think it's so sweet when a man, I mean, obviously, like, when a man loves his child, like, that's the bare minimum. But, you know, that he clearly loves his family so much and he loves his wife so much, and that he attributes the child's cuteness to the wife and not to him. Like, I just think that's really sweet and lovely. You?
I just wrote the way Vikter knows Poppy better than she does herself.
Yeah, very sweet as well.
Also very fatherly.
Yeah. What is your funniest line?
Only you would think disembowelment is a paltry flesh wound.
Me too. I added, you're such a poor loser.
Also good.
Yeah. What's your spiciest line?
I didn't put a spicy.
Oh, really? Okay, so mine was the last little bit of the chapter, and it's Poppy thinking to herself, how could anyone mortal be unmoved by the mother's pleas, her cries, and her husband's desolate hopelessness? But I already knew the answer to that. The Ascended were no longer mortal. It's not like, you know, we're using spicy in like a loose term, but it's kind of just like a dang, mic drop. Kinda. I don't know how to describe it, but it's...
No, I see where you're going with
it's
that.
intense.
It is. It is. Chapter 10. After the court session, Poppy is left questioning how her world is run and wanting to change it. She's then summoned to the Duke and Duchess's office. They need to replace Rylan and have a surprise waiting for her. Surprise, not surprise.
Yeah.
We all knew it was coming.
Pretty much.
So it's the next morning, and Poppy got very little sleep. She couldn't stop thinking about the threat of the Dark One and the way the Tulis' request was rejected. Even more so, the look that settled on Hawke's face when the request was rejected.
Yeah, I kept that part out. Basically, when Poppy is staring at the like blonde guy, she also looks at Hawke and she feels his like anger, and it's written all over his face. His face with subtitles, apparently.
Yeah. It's just interesting because leading up to this, we were saying how he seems very driven and dedicated and wanting to move up in rank, but it's like, oh, wait a minute.
You also don't seem to fully buy into the society's rules.
Exactly. Which is interesting. Anyway, it's clear he didn't agree with the situation. And like we were saying before, he wasn't the only one. Like the whole court was kind of divided. So there is unrest in the kingdom, and Poppy's questioning the order of things. I mean, we already knew she was very hesitant with the Ascension and all of that, but now it just feels like an added layer of like, what's going on here? Is this the right way? What can I do about it? And I think she actually says, is there something I could do to change it? You know?
Yeah, she seems to think that once she ascends, because growing up she was the queen's favorite, that she would have the queen's ear and that maybe she can convince the queen to make some changes, which I think is just beautifully naive.
Oh, absolutely. It is. But we still don't know what the maiden's power is or like role or anything. So like maybe she will have more power going up. I don't know. We know very little about the maiden.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's questioning if maybe it could be like a case by case scenario because some people are honored to give up their children and then others clearly aren't.
Yeah, I just think it's a question of degrees of devoutness, but also, as awful as this is to say, if you think of like back in the day when people would have like 12 kids, I feel like, and I know this is a really big assumption that I could be completely wrong on, and so take this with a grain of salt, but I feel like your kids are like less precious.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know, because you've got so many, like in the sense that like, I'm saying like a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
When children would die all the time, like of illness and like children, you know, didn't make it to 5 and stuff like that. Like I think, yeah, okay, it was like sad and difficult and stuff, but you just would make another.
Oh, for sure.
Is that like really controversial of me to say? I don't know.
No,
I'm
but
just saying,
things were different. I mean, even my grandparents were family of 11 and a family of 13, which is a lot.
That's insane.
And then there were, I don't know if like stillborn or miscarriage or like very early deaths, but they like literally took the names and named the next child that. So
well,
like,
there you go.
But I don't know
Further
if
evidence.
that's like a I don't care thing or if it was a cultural thing.
Or a way to honor that child.
Or a way to honor the child. But it very much was like, okay, like we've grieved this, let's move on and have another. That was definitely more part of the culture.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe if we go with that logic, then the very devout Macedonians or Solicians, the people who live in Solis.
The Soli. I don't know.
Who knows? That they would, be like, yes, this is absolutely an honor. Take my third child, and then I will just either make more or, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know the extent of their religion, but I'm assuming that like offering up your child is supposed to be an honor. And
Well, yeah,
supposed
for sure.
to
They're going to go
somehow,
serve the gods.
yeah, bring you closer to God. And like these children who are given are the chosen ones, if anything, you know, like of some sort, you know?
Yeah.
Not in the sense that Poppy is the chosen, but
No, I know.
but there's some sort of honor there.
Besties, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Are we
Miriam's
like really...
eyes are like...
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I just treaded into very dangerous territory, so I could be very, very wrong. And I'm open to being corrected if anybody has a strong opinion about what I said. But honestly, it's the only way I could imagine you can deal with that kind of magnitude of loss. And
anyway, so Tawny is helping Poppy get ready, and Vikter knocks at her door. The Duke and Duchess have summoned her. Dun, dun, dun. Vikter believes it has something to do with who will replace Rylan. Wonder who that could be.
Who would move the story forward?
Yeah, exactly. Poppy is also told that her lesson with Priestess
Anelia
are suspended for the week.
And we know that she doesn't enjoy her lessons with Priestess Anelia is because the woman is like always
telling her what she's doing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much an actual lesson as a dressing down.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
Because between that and the Duke's lessons, I can't imagine Poppy's life is a
Very
bundle
fun.
of joy.
Yeah.
I would run away too. Mm-hmm. So we then walk through the castle into the large foyer, and there are large limestone statues of the gods lining the room, even one of Penelope. I was going to stumble over that one. Penelope. They walk through the banquet hall, and Poppy's gaze catches on a vase with night blooming roses. And it kind of triggers her, and she could almost smell the blood of that night, which is sad. We then get to the Duke and Duchess's office. Going into it, I was just stressing. I was like, I don't want to meet this man.
The Duke, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they walk into the office, and who do they find other than the one, the only Hawke Flynn? Poppy is freaking out internally, and she's even questioning if maybe he's there because he did recognize her and he's already turned her in. So Poppy's super grateful for her veil because no one could actually see her expressions, which is really funny because it just made me think of COVID times. Not that I really want to talk about COVID times, but I took to making so many more faces because my face was covered.
Really?
Yeah. I was like pulling so many more faces and reactions because no one could see them.
I don't remember. That was a time that I
just chose to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I actually avoided all TV and movies that implemented COVID into them. There was a few TV shows that were like, oh, I guess we're doing a COVID season. And they just like ran as if this show happened in COVID times. I was like, hard pass.
Yeah.
Like,
I lived that once. Don't need to live it again.
The Duke then announces that they need to replace Rylan, who he keeps calling Ryan. And that just kind of goes to show how much the people that work there are just a number to him and what kind of man that he is. Then Commander Jensen goes on to explain why Hawke Flynn is the best for the job. And it's literally all the same reasons that Vikter said, which I found funny. It's the second time that Vikter says something that's exactly the same as someone else says. And like, I haven't decided if this is supposed to be part of the story or it's just weak writing.
I think it's meant to show how good at his job and knowledgeable about the way things are that Vikter is.
Okay. Every time I'm just like, I don't know. The Duchess then says, in becoming the Maiden's Guard, Hawke might be in a situation where he would potentially see her face. So now she must unveil and reveal her face to him. Dun, dun, dun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a short
Yeah, it was a short chapter.
So 0 dimple count.
0 dimple count.
And only 3 questions.
Same.
Yes!
All right, what is your most romantic line?
I don't have one.
Me neither.
Great. Do you have a funny?
I do.
Okay.
If you want to make a run for it, I'll tell Vikter you jumped out the window. Tawny offered. I snorted. That would only buy me a 5-second lead time.
Mine is, and sleeping requires a certain amount of idleness, which is something I excel at.
Me too, Tawny. Me too. I'm a great napper.
I like Tawny.
Yeah. She's a nice little comic relief.
Do you have a spicy?
Penelope, please reveal yourself.
Scary. Mine is, could I change the order of things once I return to the capital before I ascend?
How's that spicy?
Because she's like wanting to change the world.
Okay.
There's some conviction there.
Our definition of spicy has like gone off the rails.
To be honest, there hasn't been much. I mean, I know like there are certain chapters, but there's no like in fourth
actual spice.
Yeah, in Fourth Wing there was like spicy banter or a lot of sex jokes or whatever.
Yeah.
And also a lot of sass.
Yeah.
Right now we're not getting either.
No, it's true. You're right. Yeah.
We're playing with it.
We're working our way. We're making it. Yeah, exactly. We're playing with it. We're making it work for us.
But like, conviction and
yeah.
It works. Chapter 11.
We make the rules.
We do. It's our show.
Exactly.
Chapter 11. Poppy unveils her face before Hawke. To the Duke's dismay, Hawke calls her beautiful, and he vows himself to her. Poppy later reveals to Tawny that she kissed him. This is about to get interesting.
I just want to say I love this chapter. It's the beginning. Mm-hmm. Poppy feels like she's in a dream, and she notes that there aren't many moments in her life where she's felt that way. The night her parents were attacked was one of them. While this moment isn't as traumatic, she feels like she's teetering on the edge of being discovered, and I guess that like uncertainty is also quite traumatic for her. We get another hint of the Duke's abuse because she acknowledges some potential truth in what Vikter had accused her of about wanting to be found unworthy. And although she's mentioned that Vikter may be right several times in the last few chapters, she says that if that's the case, she wants it done as far from the Duke as possible. So she knows that maybe she doesn't want to be found worthy, but at the same time, she doesn't want to deal with the consequences of having been found unworthy. So the Duke expresses his impatience at Poppy's
hesitation
to remove her veil, and the Duchess comes to Poppy's defense, misinterpreting that hesitation. But Poppy is not hesitating for the reason they believed. Quote, why the Duke smiled with such relish. Of course, I was uncomfortable bearing my face, my scars in front of Hawke. Truthfully, though, that was the least of my concerns at the moment. But the Duke was probably internally screaming with twisted joy. The man absolutely loathed me. Dorian Tierman pretended that he didn't, that he thought I was this miracle born, a chosen, just like his wife believed. But I knew better. The time spent in his other office proved exactly how he felt about me. And I just want to say, he sullies the name Dorian.
Yeah. I thought that too, actually. When I was reading it, I was like, Dorian? No.
Yeah. So, like the quote suggests, Poppy has no idea why he hates her so much, but the man relishes in finding ways to make her uncomfortable and then finding reasons to give her, quote unquote, lessons based on her display of discomfort.
Mm-hmm. Ick, ick, ick.
Yeah. She takes off the veil and stares straight at the Duke, and when his smile fades for a reason she doesn't know, she smiles at him.
Love it.
Me too. For the moment, only her right side, which is the side that is quote-unquote beautiful, is facing Hawke, but then she turns to face him fully. And she braces herself for his reaction, but she doesn't let it show. She lifts her chin in defiance, almost daring him to say something about her scars. But, oh my goodness, I have to quote this again because I just loved it so much. Quote, Hawke's golden gaze roamed my face, his stare so potent that it felt like a caress along with the scars, my cheeks, and then my lips. A shiver danced across my shoulders as his eyes came back to mine, our gazes locked. Held. The air seemed to be sucked from the room, and I felt flushed, as if I'd been sitting out in the sun for too long. Woo! The Duke is then a little caca, because then he says, quote, she's truly unique, isn't she? Half of her face is a masterpiece, the other half a nightmare. Excuse me, sir?
So mean.
Like, he actually says this out loud.
I know.
Unbelievable.
But, like, he's the Duke, so who's going to question it, you know?
Yeah. But sweet Hawke doesn't stop staring at her as he says that both halves are as beautiful as the whole, and he vows his fealty to Poppy.
Mm-hmm.
The scene changes yet again, and Poppy and Tawny are in her room, and this whole rest of the chapter is so girl-coded.
Yeah.
Tawny is gushing about the fact that Hawke is Poppy's guard, but Poppy's a bit wary, and her friend can't understand why. Tawny is not some little airhead. She is a lot more shrewd than she appears. And she hones in on the fact that Poppy is not as thrilled about the hottest guard being her personal bodyguard. And like a dog to a bone, she gets to the bottom of it. And that's when Poppy admits that they kissed. And I love Tawny's reaction. Mm-hmm. I can just imagine it being like me and my friends when one of us kissed our crush for the first time or whatever. I don't know. I just think it's really, really cute. And I love how JLA writes this friendship.
Yeah. And I think it has an extra layer of excitement, too, because these women are just cooped up in this tower, essentially, and, like, not allowed to do anything. Yeah. So it's, like, even more thrilling, you know?
Exactly. But then Tawny pulls out the big guns. Quote, I know, it's forbidden and all that. She hurried over to the other chair and sat leaning towards me. But I'm your friend. You're supposed to tell your friends these kinds of things. So we know from the first few chapters that Poppy has always felt insecure about whether they're friends or not. And so I wanted to know what you thought about this. Do you think that Tawny fully views them as friends and it's all in Poppy's head? Or that there is this disconnect because of Poppy's role as the maiden?
I feel like they're friends, but what we've seen has been very friend-like. So, like, I've never questioned it. I know Poppy's questioned it, but from what I've seen, I've never questioned it.
Same. I think that Tawny is actually a really good friend, and she's doing all the things. Like, she keeps her secrets, she's pumping her tires, she's complimenting her beauty, and she's making sure that Poppy knows that Hawke said all the things he said, not to garner anyone else's favor, but hers. Honestly, I really don't have much to say about the rest of this chapter because it's just two girls gushing about a boy.
Yeah.
And it's just super relatable. And I guess the only other thing I would want to highlight is that Poppy says, because this kind of carries through to the next chapter, how she's not sure if she's relieved or disappointed that Hawke didn't recognize her.
Which I understand.
Yeah, I understand too. I think that too is super relatable.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in the context they met. He thought she was someone else. So he obviously has this relationship with Britta, not relationship, but then I'm sure she's like, well, how many others? And like all of that. Was I just a number? Did I stand out?
Yeah, because it was so important to her.
Yeah, because for her, it's her one and only. So yeah, no, I totally get it. I did want to point out, though, they kind of underline that he vowed to her name and not her role. Which is lovely.
I know. 0 dimples.
0 dimples.
6 questions.
6 questions.
Woo!
Glad the question count went down because that first chapter I was like,
oh my goodness, I know there were so many. I mean, they're going to pick back up later. You'll see.
I know.
Okay, my most romantic line is actually when he vows to her, quote, with my sword in my life, I vow to keep you safe, Penelope. He spoke, voice deep and smooth, reminding me of rich, decadent chocolate. From this moment until the last moment, I am yours. Gives me goosebumps.
Good line.
It's so good.
I wrote when he says both halves are as beautiful as the whole.
Yeah, that's nice too. But you know what? It's that vow. And it's the fact that he makes that vow in front of the Duke and Duchess. And especially after the Duke insulted her. And especially because later when they're in her room, she's like, oh, Rylan and Vikter and Haynes before, they said, with my sword and with my life, I vow to keep you safe, maiden.
Yeah.
And he said, Penelope. Yeah. I don't know.
For sure. I mean, I just love that he called her beautiful literally right after the Duke said she's ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, in the same vein, it's just like, nope, I'm going to be defiant towards the Duke. And you're just
I love
like,
you.
yes.
I love you.
Do you have a funniest?
I'll forgive you for not telling me if you tell me what happened in very, very graphic detail. It's just such a girl thing.
Yeah. Mine is, my hormones are always clouding my rational thought. Thank you very much.
Love that.
And spicy?
When she smiles at the Duke.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just,
It's just a great
jumping
moment.
up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Chapter 12. It's all gossip and gawking in the atrium as the ladies in wait do anything for a moment of Hawke's attention. Poppy and Hawke finally banter a little, but it all ends quickly as Poppy enters the Duke's office. The Duke could just, like, go away now. Like, I don't need more than 2 chapters with him. I'm good. So Poppy and Tawny are in the atrium, which is not unusual for them, but this time there are ladies in wait there, which makes Poppy a bit worried because she could be in trouble even just being near them, because it could be seen as, like, interacting with them, which she's not allowed to do.
Exactly.
Poppy's also a bit nervous because of Hawke. She's extremely aware of his presence, and she's also noting that the way he's guarding her is very different than Rylan. Rylan used to, like, stare out the window and enjoy the garden and basically let his guard down, which everyone's been saying he's been doing, whereas Hawke is, like, squared facing her in a place where he could see the entire room so he won't miss a beat, which is intimidating.
Yeah, but it kind of goes to show that, you know, he didn't just rise through the ranks for no reason. Like, he's actually freaking good at his job.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think it subliminally will instill a sense of safety for her that I think is really important. It reminds me when she notes how kind of, like, aware she is of his presence. Remember at the end of Twilight when Renee tells Bella how she noticed that every time, like, Bella moves, Edward moves, like, as if they're some sort of, like, gravitational pull towards each other. It's kind of like that.
That's true. I didn't even think of that, but it's very true. So the 2 ladies in wait are Lauren and Dafina.
Yeah.
And they are trying so hard to get Hawke's attention.
I know. It's so funny. And you know what? It's so cringe, but I would probably do the same thing.
They're working on some beading stuff and purposefully dropping their beads so Hawke comes over and cleans them up because he's gallant. And then the other one is pretending to faint.
The fainting thing is so something I would do.
Yeah. Well, it feels also very par for the course of historical, like, fake fainting.
It's giving Bridgerton season 1.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Cressida?
Yeah, Cressida and, oh my gosh, what was his name? The prince, the Austrian guy.
The prince.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
He was a prince, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't remember his name.
Me neither.
Okay.
He was a sweet boy.
He was. He just wasn't.
He couldn't hold a candle to... Hold a torch. Hold a candle? Hold a torch? What's the expression? To Simon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ladies start talking about rumors of Hawke going to the Red Pearl. And they're gossiping about what he does there. Whether or not he's just there to play cards or if he's there to...
Play other games.
Play other games. Which kind of sends Poppy boiling because she doesn't like that other girls are talking about his exploits, if you will.
I just love a jealous, like, girl. In these books, we always get the jealous guy. And it's just nice to have the girl be a little bit possessive.
Yeah. Violet was like that too.
She was.
And then Poppy's gaze shifts to Hawke. And she realizes she cannot blame the girls for gawking. She's eyeing every little inch of that body and just taking it all in to the point that she's like remembering what it felt like to have him on top of her. But then the girls start talking about the Rite and it kind of snaps her attention back. And Poppy's thinking how this is going to be her first Rite. And she, for once, will not be dressed as the maiden. Which I don't understand why.
Because everybody at the Rite, I mean, spoiler for in a couple weeks, everybody at the Rite wears red. I'm pretty sure.
Right. But it just feels, I don't know, if she's the maiden and she's this precious thing and this symbol, then she should still be that symbol. Like all of a sudden it's like, no, tonight you don't have to be the maiden. Like it's weird.
I think it's just the Rite is a rite.
Yeah.
It's a traditional ritual. And so despite anybody's status, they have to respect that first and foremost, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just bizarre. I don't know. Just because they seem to have put so much emphasis on the importance of the maiden. So it just feels bizarre to just like disregard it for a night. Like, hey, you're like everyone else. Anyway, we shall see when we get to the Rite. But yeah, she'll be dressed as everyone else and she'll be masked like the others instead. Masked very much like the way she was at the Red Pearl. which makes her worried that maybe that's what will cause Hawke to recognize her. But to be honest, this guy who is so good at his job must be so good at attention to detail. Like, there's no way he doesn't recognize her.
You know what? It's the same problem I have with Hannah Montana. It's the same problem I have with, like, Superman. Oh, suddenly you have glasses and we don't recognize who you are anymore. Like, who else? Let's think of other movies or, like, TV shows that are like that. There's a ton. Cinderella Story.
Oh, my God. Waiting for you is like waiting for rain in this drought. Useless and disappointing.
But you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, I know these are books and we have to suspend disbelief and blah, 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 blah. But come on.
Yeah. Anyway, I could buy him not wanting to play his hand yet. But, like, there is no doubt in my mind that this guy doesn't recognize her. Like, that would be insane.
Yeah.
He's literally, like, known for being super observant. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Then Lauren says the name. Lauren. It's just spelled not how my brain knows.
Well, Vikter is not spelled how.
Yeah, but at least looks Russian or something, you know?
Okay.
I don't know. Lauren then says the name Prince Castile. Mm-hmm. And Poppy's like, whoa, red flag. We are not supposed to talk about him.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, so he's Lord Voldemort, which I didn't realize. You're not allowed to say his name. You're supposed to just call him the Dark One.
Well, but essentially because the fact that they're acknowledging him as a prince is treacherous because you're not supposed to recognize the sovereignty of the Atlanteans because it's a fallen kingdom.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Anyway, they overheard Britta saying that he was spotted, and
Britta has all the tea.
Yeah, basically say the maids in general have all the tea, which is true.
Well, it's like in my references. No, I was gonna say it's like, well, Bridgerton too, because that's what they do when they want to break Daphne and Nigel's agreement that gossip. Anthony does for her because he's dummy. In season 1, we love him in season 2. I was actually gonna say from Princess Diaries 2 again, where the maids hear everything or something like that, because I remember that's what Mia tells Jo right before she walks down the aisle. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Princess Diaries 2 Royal Engagement is my comfort movie.
Have you ever watched Downton Abbey?
I did. I stopped at like season 3, because everybody started dying. And I was just like, this show is so depressing. All these people that I love are dying. I'm done.
That's fair. Anyway, I was just going to say it's a very good depiction of how Downstairs knows everything.
Yeah, there's actually a show that's on Netflix that is called Grand Hotel. It's an Egyptian show that is, you can listen to it dubbed or with subtitles. It's so good. I've watched it a million times. At one point, I wanted the theme song to be Justin's and My First Dance Song because I just loved it so much. It was so good. The soundtrack to this show is incredible. Highly recommend. Because actually what happens, like, okay, little side note. What happens in the Middle East is around Ramadan, they come out with a bunch of shows that are aired every single day for the whole month of Ramadan.
Okay.
And like, so they're called musalsel or musalsalat, and it's this specific type of show. It's super dramatic and whatever, but it spans 30 days. So imagine it's like 3 seasons of a show in one. And Grand Hotel tells the story of the owners and the staff of the Cataract Hotel in Aswan, which is actually the hotel Agatha Christie stayed at when she wrote Death on the Nile. Mm-hmm. And when Justin and I went to Egypt, I took him to Egypt in 2019 because it was really important to me that he visits the country before we get engaged and get married. And we took the cruise down the Nile and we visited the old Cataract Hotel and we visited Agatha Christie's suite, mm-hmm. which was incredible. It's so, so cool. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all this to say, very similar concept. And it's actually a reproduction of a Spanish show called Grand Hotel.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, and I think on Netflix it's called, in English, on Netflix, it's called Secret of the Nile or Secrets of the Nile, something like that. Anyway, highly, highly recommend if anybody just wants to get lost in an amazing story. It's beautifully filmed. The costumes are beautiful. It's set in like the 40s or 50s. So it's really like, Egypt was a very classy metropolitan place back then. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, I love watching these musalsalat, but it's just, you have to be ready to like basically not live your life because you just binge them. They're so addicting and they're so, like, Justin's like, oh, these soaps, I just can't. But they're really fun. And yeah, there's a bunch on Netflix for free.
I haven't watched a soap in a long time.
They're super underrated. I bristle when he calls them a soap because they're not a soap. They're just like very dramatic.
Right. Which would be a soap. But I mean, in like Mexico, soaps are
like telenovelas.
That's what it is, you know?
Yeah.
And like it's regarded as like you said,
premium
like
television.
all the highest, biggest actors are in there. So it's just a different thing. Like I agree, in America it's not necessarily our prime stuff, but it doesn't mean it isn't elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my little bit of Egypt pride. Egypt is the Hollywood of the Middle East.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Egypt and Turkey. They're both known for like really good soaps. But so that's why the Egyptian dialect is understood by pretty much everyone because everybody watches these shows.
Interesting.
Whereas like if I were to hear like a Syrian person speak Arabic or an Algerian person or a Tunisian person, or even a Moroccan person, I could understand what they're saying. It's just a lot harder for me.
Oh, dialect is, insane. I remember when my mom's aunts came over from Italy, they were speaking like the dialect of the north, but my mom speaks the neutral Italian dialect because that's what they were taught as kids because my grandparents wanted them to be able to communicate with everyone. I couldn't understand them. If my mom's talking Italian, I could follow what she's saying. I can't respond, but I understand and get the gist of it. Mm-hmm. Her aunts, no way. I was just like, oh, I don't speak Italian.
Yeah.
So I hear you for sure.
Back to Solace.
So they're overheard Britta saying he was spotted. Only no one knows what he looks like. So I was like, how is that possible? He was spotted, but no one knows what he looks like. And then we get two...
He could be wearing a mask, Elyse.
We get two descriptions. One of them is that he is bald and has pointy ears and is pale. And that made me very upset because I did not start reading this book to read about Nosferatu. I want to read about sexy
Who the heck is
vampires.
that?
You don't know who Nosferatu is?
No.
Oh, girl. For my horror movie fans out there.
Oh, no, I don't want to see. No, that's really scary.
That's not cute.
That is not cute.
So...
What movie is that from?
Nosferatu.
Oh.
He's like a vampire that's bald and has pointy ears. And that's what I pictured when I read that description. And I was upset because I want to read about sexy vampires. Anyway, the other description is that he's handsome. And I was like, yes, let's roll with that, please.
Yeah. That's so funny. Elyse has such a wide range of references. And mine are like that of a 14-year-old girl from 2007.
I love pop culture. I adore it. I love learning about it. I love learning about how it's created.
I do too, but I like pop culture gossip. Not necessarily pop culture itself.
Yeah.
Also, is that considered pop culture? Well, it's not pop.
It's horror.
I feel like that's niche.
No, in the horror world, everyone would know who Nosferatu is.
Okay, but you have to be in the horror world.
Yeah.
The horror world is niche.
No, I wouldn't say that.
To this girl it is.
To you it is. That's fine. That's fine. In the horror world, everyone knows who that is. But I understand if you're not in the horror world, you won't know who that is.
Besties, let us know. Do you know who Nosferatu is?
We'll put up a poll.
Yeah. We'll clip this.
Yeah. Anyway, the other girls tell her to stop talking about Castile because they'll all get in trouble for it. And Tawny calls out Lauren for sounding excited about the subject.
Lauren? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. My brain just reads it as
Lauren.
Every time.
It's Lauren.
Lauren responds, excited? No, intrigued. Possibly. Some days are just so dreadfully dull. And that's what causes Poppy to break. She responds saying...
Well, it's the first time she speaks.
It's the first time she speaks,
even says, like, oh, this might be the first time they even ever have heard my voice.
That's true. Because you're not allowed to talk to them.
Yeah.
Or in front of them or anything, right? But basically she's, like, insulted that Lauren is just treating the death of others as entertainment because her life is boring, which, when you take a step back, is really messed up. Mm-hmm. So the ladies are both super shocked because Poppy spoke and apologetic, and they end up leaving. But before they leave, Poppy's gift, again, kind of loses control, or she loses control, and reaches out to touch Lauren. And she feels excitement and fear, which are, again, two feelings that
she's not used to
feeling. So are her powers growing? Like, new level unlocked? What is going on here? But Poppy thinks, no, that can't be. It must be my own feelings that have mixed into it. So she's still a little bit in denial about the situation. But to be honest, if it's the second time it happens, it's like, something's going on here.
Yeah, for sure.
The ladies leave, and Tawny turns the conversation to the subject of Hawke, because let's be honest, that's all we want to talk about. And she's basically asking her, what's Poppy going to do about him. Like, she can't just stay mute in his presence forever because she also hasn't spoken in front of Hawke yet. And then again, somehow Poppy and Hawke lock eyes, and it's very intense despite that veil being there.
They just have that strong of a connection, obviously.
Obviously. Anyway, they're kind of talking about him after their connection breaks, and then he kind of like pops up next to them, which startles the girls because they're talking about him, and he announces that the Duke has summoned Poppy again. So on their way to the Duke's office, different office this time, Poppy and Hawke kind of like joke about the ladies in wait and the way they were throwing themselves at her. And it's like a really cute banter. I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe things are going to be okay here. As they make their way to the Duke's office, Poppy is internally freaking out. But this time, because why does the Duke want to see her? And she's still a little bit questioning whether or not Hawke recognized her. And like you were saying before, teetering that line between disappointed and relieved. Hawke does catch on that both girls seem afraid of the summons, though. And Poppy, flustered, trips going up the stairs, and Hawke catches her. I like a trip and catch moment.
Yeah.
Never gets old. It's been done thousands of times.
For sure.
You know? Then, after there a bit more banter, he actually says, I've seen you before. Yeah. My heart was like, uh-oh.
Where did you see me?
But it's not the red pearl that he brings up. It's that he's noticed Poppy watching him train from the balconies.
Which I'm just like, really, dude? It's known that there are a ton of women watching you, but you've spotted her specifically. I mean, I guess her hair is unique enough. No, but her hair is covered by the veil, so how would you even... I guess you would have seen her in her outfit. Duh. Okay. I love how I just processed that out loud.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. So that's why, guys. And then they come up to the office, and Poppy's kind of at a standstill. She's like frozen. She doesn't want to go in. But then Hawke promises that he's going to wait there for her. And note that he keeps calling her by her first name instead of maiden.
Yeah. Love that.
Then Poppy steps into the Duke's office, and not only does she spot the Duke sitting there, but the Lord of Ick, Lord Mazine. And the chapter ends with, Penelope, I am incredibly disappointed in you.
Yeah.
So I don't want to read the next chapter. Don't know about you guys.
Yeah, it's my honor to
cover it next week. Dimple count?
3.
3? I had 2.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you could be right. I could have missed a dimple. Question?
5.
6.
We'll put 6 then. What is your most romantic line?
I put like Hawke catching Poppy's fall, but like with a question mark. I don't know. I was kind of grasping at straws.
Oh, I wrote Poppy. He repeated in a way that made it sound as if my name was wrapped in chocolate and would roll off his tongue. I like it.
That's very romantic.
It is. First of all, this is the second time that she refers to him speaking as chocolate which is something to Park. I love a nickname. Mm-hmm. And I love that, you know, he kind of broke a wall down when he vowed to her Penelope, and now him calling her Poppy. Tawny immediately after says only her friends and her brother call her that. So
building a bridge there. Funniest?
I won't trip, but you just did. That is a rarity. Well then, I feel honored that I bore witness to it.
That's very cute.
It's just fun banter that is a prelude of what's to come.
Mine was, I wanted to kick her. Like a maiden, of course.
What's your spiciest line?
But he also filled the air with a certain type of unquantifiable tension, as if the room were electrified. Anyone around him had to be aware of that.
I went with spicy sassy. Penelope, I am so incredibly disappointed in you.
Scary.
Yeah, it's ominous.
Very scary.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Do you want to do the honors, Elise, of giving us the count of where we're at?
Yeah. We are at a total of 9 dimples and 94 questions.
Oh my gosh, it's so many.
Yeah.
And neither one of us had any reading comprehension issues this week.
No, I think we're in the clear for that.
Nice. All right, besties. For next week, please read chapters 13 through 16. Thank you so much for listening. Please rate this podcast and leave us a review. It'll help other people find us. If you haven't already, we encourage you to set new episodes to download so that you're sure to be up to date. If you're interested in supporting the podcast, we have our Amazon storefront as always and our code with Smoke Show. Everything is in the description. You can follow us on Instagram at Book Bound Pod and on TikTok at Book Bound Besties. Please tag us when you are listening to our episodes, or if you find a theory or a funny meme that you think we would like, send it our way. We absolutely love it. Please DM us if you like the show. You have no idea how much it warms our hearts. We actually just got a message from a listener in Colombia. It's so much fun and rewarding to know that we are touching people all over the world and that people in all four corners are listening to my annoying voice. You know, it's just wild. I can't believe it. And
just the fact that we could all relate, that's cool. Makes the world feel a little bit smaller.
Absolutely. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, as always, you can email us at bookboundpod@gmail.com. Let's get to reading.